The twin suns of Elaris 9 burned softly in the morning sky, painting the silver domes of the colony with gold light. Children ran under the transparent shields of the playground, laughing, shouting, chasing bright drones that hovered like metallic butterflies. But near the fence, where the light turned dim and quiet, she stood alone. Her name was Lyra. She was not human. Her skin carried a faint violet glow, and her eyes shimmered like liquid silver, beautiful, yet strange enough to make the other children whisper and point. She came here every day, standing at the same spot beside the glass wall. She never joined them. She only watched. When they laughed, she smiled softly, but never for herself. When they called each other's names, her lips stayed still. She had no friends here. The humans didn't mean to be cruel, not really. They were just loud, bright, full of sound. Lyra's people, the Verin, spoke without words. Their voices were thoughts, carried quietly through the mind. But humans couldn't hear thoughts. And so, to them, Lyra was silent. Silent and strange. Sometimes, the children's laughter echoed like thunder to her sensitive ears. She would flinch and step back, clutching the small crystal pendant around her neck. It was the only gift her mother had given her before leaving for the mines on the far side of the planet. "Don't let them see your light," her mother had said. "Humans fear what shines too bright." So Lyra hid her glow, covering her hands with thin gloves and lowering her hood. Still, she could feel their eyes on her, the quick glances, the tiny giggles when she passed. It hurt. Yet she came back every day. Because in her heart, there was still hope. Hope that maybe one day, someone would look at her not with fear, but with kindness. That day came slowly and quietly. It began with a small sound. Whirrek, click, crash. A drone fell from the sky and landed near her feet, its small propellers twitching. Lyra bent down carefully, her fingers tracing the cracked surface. The machine was old, scratched, patched with tape, and held together by stubbornness more than metal. A voice called from across the field. "Hey! Wait, don't touch that!" Lyra looked up. A human boy was running toward her. He was maybe her age, wearing a brown jacket with torn sleeves and grease on his hands. His hair stuck out like he'd fought a storm and lost. He stopped a few meters away, breathing hard, staring at her glowing eyes. For a long second, neither spoke. Then, carefully, Lyra held out the broken drone. He hesitated, then smiled a little, nervous but real. "Thanks. It's old. Keeps dying on me." Lyra tilted her head, studying his words. She couldn't answer him, but she wanted to. So she pressed her hand against the drone and focused. A soft light shimmered from her fingers. The metal hummed, the circuits glowed blue, and the little drone lifted itself off her palm, floating perfectly once again. The boy's mouth fell open. You fixed it?" Lyra nodded, just once, her silver eyes reflecting the tiny machine's glow. He laughed, surprised and amazed. "That's incredible. How did you?" Before he could finish, the warning bell rang across the dome. The teachers called the children back to the learning halls. The noise was too much, voices, footsteps, shouts. Lyra flinched and stepped back toward the glass wall. The boy noticed. His smile faded. "Hey, wait," he said softly, "what's your name?" She wanted to answer. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Her thoughts reached out, a whisper of her name carried through the air like a faint breeze. But he couldn't hear it. So she just smiled, shy and small, and turned away. The boy watched her go until she vanished into the pale light beyond the dome. He didn't even know her name, yet something about her silence stayed with him, like a melody he couldn't forget. That night, as he repaired his drone again, he thought about the girl with the glowing eyes. About how she'd smiled before walking away. He didn't know why, but it made his heart feel strange, like a story had just begun and he was part of it. Outside, under the twin suns fading into dusk, Lyra walked home along the quiet metal streets. She passed groups of humans laughing, eating, living, the world filled with voices she could never join. But somewhere inside her, she felt a warmth she hadn't felt before. Someone had seen her. Really seen her. And that small moment, that single shared look, was enough to make her come back tomorrow. Back to the same playground. Back to the same boy. Back to the beginning of something neither of them understood yet, a friendship that would challenge two worlds. And as the sun sank below the horizon, her lips curved again into that small, trembling smile, the kind that could light up an entire galaxy. The next morning, the twin suns rose again over Alaris 9, washing the metallic domes in white gold light. The air inside the colony shimmered faintly, heavy with the hum of the generators that kept everyone alive. At the far corner of the Central Park, Evan Carter sat alone on the bench, his broken drone resting in his hands. He wasn't here for repairs today. He was waiting. All night he'd thought about the alien girl with the silver eyes, the way her hands glowed when she touched his drone, the shy smile before she disappeared into the crowd. He didn't even know her name, but something in him refused to forget her. He told himself it was curiosity. But deep inside, it was more than that. He wanted to see her again. For almost an hour, he waited while the playground filled with children. None of them were her. He sighed, ready to give up, when a faint reflection appeared on the glass wall near the fence. A small figure stood there, hood pulled low, glowing faintly in the soft light. Evan's heart jumped. He stood quickly, raising the drone like a signal. "Hey! It still works, well, kinda." The girl didn't move. She watched him quietly, the way she had before, half hidden in the shadow. He took a slow step closer. "It was you, right? You fixed it yesterday." Lyra hesitated, then nodded once. He grinned, relief in his voice. "Thought so. You're really good at that. I mean, better than my teacher, probably better than my dad." She tilted her head, clearly trying to understand his fast words. He realized she might not catch everything he said, so he pointed to the drone, then to her, then made a thumbs-up sign. Her silver eyes widened, and for the first time, she copied the gesture, clumsy, unsure, but perfect. Evan laughed softly. "See? You get it." The sound made her blink. Human laughter had always confused her. It was loud, unpredictable, but his laughter didn't hurt her ears. It was warm. He motioned to the open ground. "Fly it with me." Lyra hesitated again, glancing toward the others. A group of human children were still playing on the far side of the field. They hadn't noticed her yet. Slowly, she stepped forward. Evan handed her the controller. Their fingers brushed for a second, and a faint spark passed between them, not static, something softer. She looked at him, startled. He smiled, pretending not to notice the glow that flashed from her eyes. Together, they guided the drone into the air. It spun clumsily at first, then steadied as Lyra adjusted the controls. Her movements were graceful, almost instinctive, like she could feel the machine's pulse through her mind. Evan watched, amazed. "You're a natural," he whispered. The drone looped through the sunlight, leaving a trail of silver behind it. For the first time, Lyra's lips curved into a real smile, a small, bright thing that made her face glow softly beneath her hood. But the moment didn't last. A sudden shout broke the peace. "Hey! That's Evan's drone. What's she doing with it?" Two older boys from the academy ran over, their voices sharp and mocking. They stared at Lyra's pale skin, her glowing hands, her frightened eyes. Evan stepped forward quickly. "Back off, Rianne. She's helping me fix it." The taller boy smirked. "Helping? With what, alien magic?" He pushed Evan lightly and pointed at Lyra. "You shouldn't let her touch human tech. My dad says they corrupt circuits." Lyra stepped back, clutching her gloves. The glow under her skin flickered. Evan's jaw tightened. "Maybe your dad's wrong." The other boy laughed. "Sure, defend your little alien girlfriend." That word, alien, hit the air like a blade. People nearby turned to look. A few whispers started. Lyra's eyes shimmered with panic. She took a quick step back, almost dropping the controller. The drone tilted dangerously in the air. Evan caught her wrist gently. "Hey, it's okay. Don't listen to them." But she could feel every stare, every unspoken judgment. It was too much. The drone fell, crashing to the ground again. She turned and ran, her light fading into the shadows near the dome wall. Evan called after her, but she was gone before he could even take a step. Silence hung in the air. The other boys laughed once more and walked away. Evan knelt, picking up the broken drone. It sparked weakly, its light fading just like hers. He stared at it for a long moment. Then, quietly, he said, "I'll find you again. I promise." That evening, he sat in his small room, surrounded by tools and metal scraps. He tried fixing the drone, but his hands kept shaking. Every time he tightened a screw, he saw her face, the way she smiled before everything went wrong. Outside his window, the city lights shimmered like distant stars, and somewhere beyond them, the Verin district glowed faintly blue. Evan didn't know her name. He didn't know her story. But he knew one thing for sure. He wanted to understand her world. And tomorrow, he would go back. Because sometimes, one broken machine can bring two hearts together. And sometimes, one small act of kindness can start something far bigger than anyone can imagine. The next sunrise on Alaris 9 carried something new through the air, not light, but whispers. They floated through the crowded walkways of the colony like invisible smoke. From the market stalls to the learning halls, people murmured about the same thing. "Did you hear? A Verin girl used her powers in the human dome. They say she fixed a drone with light from her hands. The council won't like that." No one knew her name, but everyone had an opinion. Even the traders at the central market, a place where humans and aliens rarely mixed, spoke in lowered voices. The Verin, tall and silent, kept their heads down. The humans glanced at them with cautious eyes. And in the middle of all that noise, Lyra walked quietly, her hood drawn low, her heart pounding. She could feel it, the thoughts, the fear, the curiosity. Her people's telepathic senses made whispers feel like echoes inside her skull. Every stray word cut deeper. She had only tried to help. One small act. One small spark of kindness. And now, the whole colony was watching her. At the other side of the dome, Evan Carter searched every corner of the market. He'd skipped his academy lessons again. He didn't care. He'd spent the entire night fixing his drone, rewiring it, patching the circuits she had touched. Every time he powered it on, it hummed with a faint blue light, her light. Now he just wanted to find her again. "Excuse me," he asked a shopkeeper, "have you seen a Verin girl? Small, quiet, silver eyes." The man shook his head quickly. "Keep your voice down, kid. You don't want trouble." "Trouble?" Evan frowned. "Word is, the colony guards are looking for her. The council's worried. They say Verin tech shouldn't mix with human systems. Dangerous, you know." Evan clenched his fists. "Dangerous? She fixed something broken. That's not danger. That's help." But the man only gave him a pitying look. "Careful, boy. Sometimes help looks like threat to people in charge." Lyra moved through the narrow lanes of the Verin quarter, passing glowing signs written in both languages. Her people avoided her eyes. A few elders whispered warnings. "You should not have revealed your light. Humans will not understand. They will take you for study." Each word made her chest tighten. She remembered the boy's smile, kind, unafraid. The way he laughed. The way he said, "See? You get it." For the first time in her life, she'd felt seen. And now, that feeling had turned into fear. She reached the edge of the market where the human zone began. Security drones floated overhead, scanning the crowd. Lyra hid her glowing hands in her sleeves. Then she saw something, a small drone hovering awkwardly in the air. Its metal body flickered with faint blue light. Her heart skipped. That was his drone. She looked around, and there he was. Evan stood near a fruit stall, pretending to adjust his jacket but scanning the crowd. His eyes caught hers instantly. For a heartbeat, the noise of the market disappeared. Only the hum of the drone remained. He walked toward her, careful, slow, as if afraid to scare her away. "Hey," he said softly, smiling, "you came back." Lyra looked around nervously. "You should not." She stopped, realizing he couldn't hear her thoughts. So she reached into her small satchel and took out a piece of scrap metal, etched with Verin symbols, and handed it to him. Evan frowned in confusion, then smiled when he saw what it was. "A gift." She nodded once. Before he could say more, a sudden mechanical voice boomed over the speakers. "Attention! All Verin citizens must remain within their registered zones. Unauthorized crossings will be reported. Guards appeared at the far end of the market, scanning faces with red beams. People tensed. Some Verin hid. Others simply disappeared into the shadows. Evan's jaw tightened. They're looking for you, aren't they? Lyra's silver eyes filled with fear. She turned to run, but he grabbed her hand gently. Wait. I can help. She shook her head. The air around them shimmered faintly, her glow rising beneath her skin. For a second, he could feel her thoughts brush against his mind, like a whisper without sound. You should not be near me. Evan froze. He didn't hear words, he felt them. He stared at her, shocked. Was that you? But she was already backing away, disappearing into the crowd. The guard scanners passed overhead, the beams flashing dangerously close. Evan looked down at the small piece of metal in his hand. Symbols pulsed faintly across it, Verin writing that seemed to move like light. He had no idea what it said. But when he pressed his thumb over it, a faint image appeared, two glowing lines, side by side, merging into one. And below it, a single human word she must have learned somewhere. Friend. Evan smiled faintly, even as the alarms began to echo through the market. Somewhere in the noise, someone shouted. She's here! The Verin girl! The crowd erupted. And as the guards rushed past, Evan tucked the glowing metal into his pocket and whispered to himself. I won't let them take her. Because in that single word, friend, something powerful had begun. Something worth protecting. Something that could change both their worlds. The colony of Alaris 9 never truly slept. Even under the twin moons, the glass domes pulsed with the heartbeat of machines, generators, scanners, patrol drones whispering through the cold night. But that night felt different. The hum carried fear. Inside the central command hall, a meeting glowed behind locked doors. The Council of Alaris 9 stood in silence around a holographic display. The image flickered, grainy security footage from the marketplace. A young alien girl, silver-eyed and glowing, holding out her hands as a small drone repaired itself mid-air. Pause it, ordered Councillor Reese, a tall man with iron hair and a voice like stone. The image froze on Lyra's face. There. That light. Same signature as the Verin's forbidden energy field. Another officer nodded. She's unregistered. No records under colony citizen files. Reese turned to the others. Then she's a risk. We can't have a Verin child using uncontrolled energy near human systems. We remember what happened on Station Arkan. A murmur passed through the room. Fear mixed with prejudice. Only one voice spoke softly from the corner, a scientist, tired, kind-eyed. Sir, she's just a girl. Reese frowned. Dr. Carter, your compassion is noted. But laws exist for a reason. Dr. Carter said nothing more. But inside, something twisted. Because he knew that name. The last image he'd seen on his son's broken drone camera, that same silver-eyed girl. Far away, in the Verin district, Lyra sat by a dim window. Her mother stood behind her, eyes heavy with worry. You shouldn't have gone back to the human zones, her mother whispered. The council will come. Lyra's voice trembled, soft as breath. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I only wanted to help him. Her mother sighed. They don't see the difference, child. To them, our light is danger. A sound interrupted them, the distant hum of engines. Outside the window, bright beams cut through the mist. Colony guards. Lyra's mother froze. Hide your glow. Don't speak unless they ask. Moments later, the door hissed open. Two guards entered, armor gleaming, faces unreadable behind mirrored visors. Lyra of the Verin, one said coldly. By order of the council, you are to come with us for questioning. Her mother stepped forward. She's only 16. Protocol doesn't care about age, the guard replied. Lyra looked at her mother once, then nodded quietly. It's okay, mother. As they led her away, her small pendant shimmered faintly, the same one that held her mother's words, don't let them see your light. Meanwhile, Evan sat in his father's workshop, trying to fix his drone again, but his hands wouldn't stop shaking. The news feed on the wall caught his attention. Council summons unidentified Verin subject for questioning. Possible energy incident in Market Sector C. Evan's heart dropped. No. He ran down the hall to his father's study. Dad, stop them. That's her. The girl from the park. Dr. Carter looked up sharply. You know her? She didn't do anything wrong. Evan's voice broke. She just fixed my drone. Evan, his father interrupted, voice low but urgent, listen to me. The council won't understand that. To them, any uncontrolled Verin power could mean danger to the dome. You need to stay out of this. I can't, Evan said quietly. She saved me once. Now it's my turn. Before his father could answer, Evan was already gone, racing through the corridors, dodging drones and guards, the colony alarms echoing in the distance. Inside the council chamber, Lyra stood under blinding white light. The room was cold, circular, filled with human officials and floating screens. Councillor Reese spoke from his high seat. Lyra of the Verin, you are accused of using unregistered psionic energy within human space. Do you deny this? Lyra lowered her head. Her voice trembled. I only wanted to help. Help? Reese leaned forward. Your kind's help once caused reactor failure on Archon 5. Hundreds died. You expect us to believe you were just playing? Lyra flinched. I didn't know. Reese's tone sharpened. Ignorance is not an excuse. As the crowd murmured, one of the side doors slid open quietly. A young voice called out. Then maybe understanding should be. Every head turned. Evan stood in the doorway, breathless, eyes blazing with defiance. Guards moved to stop him, but Dr. Carter appeared behind, holding up a clearance pass. He's with me. Reese frowned. Doctor, this is a council matter. Dr. Carter ignored him. This girl didn't attack anyone. She restored a power cell with bare hands. That's not crime, that's brilliance. Evan stepped forward, holding the small metal piece Lyra had given him. It still glowed faintly. She gave me this. It says friend. A hush fell over the room. Lyra looked up, eyes wide, tears glimmering like stars. Reese's expression hardened. Enough sentiment. She is still a potential hazard. We'll decide after further tests. He raised his hand, and the guard stepped forward. Lyra's fear spiked, and suddenly the lights flickered. The entire hall trembled. A low alarm blared. A voice crackled through the speakers. Warning, solar flare approaching. Shield power dropping below safe levels. Everyone froze. Reese shouted, backup generators, now. But the screens went black. The dome lights dimmed to red emergency glow. Panic rippled through the chamber. And then, in the center of the chaos, Lyra stepped forward. Her voice was steady now. Let me help. The guards hesitated. Reese barked, no. She could. Too late. Lyra raised her hands. Silver light poured from her palms, filling the room, feeding into the power core beneath the floor. The emergency systems flickered, then stabilized. Outside, the shield glowed back to full strength, saving thousands from radiation exposure. Silence filled the chamber. Councillor Reese lowered his hand slowly, his face unreadable. And Evan whispered softly, a proud smile on his face. She just saved us all. The world was silent. For the first time in the history of Alaris 9, the council chamber glowed with light not from its machines, but from a single alien girl. Lyra stood in the center of the room, her small hands raised, blue-white energy swirling around her like ribbons of fire. Her silver eyes burned with calm focus as power flowed through her body and into the damaged generators beneath the floor. Around her, terrified guards lowered their weapons. Officials who once accused her now stood frozen, faces washed in her light. The colony shield outside flickered, once, twice, then stabilized, spreading across the domes like a second dawn. A ripple of applause began somewhere at the back, uncertain, trembling, then died under Councillor Reese's cold voice. Shut down the chamber, he commanded. Now! But no one moved. The hum of energy filled the room, soft yet endless. Lyra's glow faded slowly as the last spark of power left her fingertips. When it was over, she staggered forward, pale and trembling. Evan was there in an instant, catching her before she fell. "You did it," he whispered, awe in his voice. "You saved everyone." She looked up weakly, a faint smile touching her lips. "I only didn't want them to die." Dr. Carter helped her sit down, scanning her vitals. "Her energy output is beyond anything I've ever seen," he murmured. "She converted radiation into stable current. No Verin's ever done that." Counselor Reese slammed his palm on the table. "Enough praise. This is exactly why they are dangerous. Uncontrolled, unpredictable." Evan spun toward him. "Uncontrolled? She just saved your life." Reese's eyes burned. "And what happens when she can't control that light next time? What if it consumes her, and all of us?" The chamber erupted in argument. Voices clashed like thunder. Some shouted for containment. Others demanded freedom. And in the middle of it all, Lyra sat quietly, her glow dimmed, her gaze far away. She could hear their thoughts, not the words, but the emotions behind them. Fear, doubt, wonder, hope. She whispered softly, mostly to herself, "I wish you could feel what I feel." And then, something happened. Her pendant, the one her mother gave her, began to pulse gently. The glow spread across the floor, weaving between the council members like soft mist. For a moment, everyone fell silent. Their minds connected. Just for a heartbeat. They felt her loneliness, her kindness, her memory of standing at the playground's edge, wishing for a friend. And they saw Evan, his laughter, his trust, his belief that humans and Verin weren't enemies, just voices out of tune. When the vision ended, the room was quiet again. Reese's hand shook as he gripped the table. "What was that?" Dr. Carter whispered, "A link. She shared what she felt, with all of us." The old man's voice softened, almost against his will. "That's impossible." Evan smiled faintly. "You said that about kindness once." Outside the council dome, people gathered, watching the lights flicker and settle. News had already spread. An alien girl saved the colony. Some humans cheered. Others stared in confusion, uncertain whether to be grateful or afraid. Inside, Reese finally spoke again, his tone quieter. "Lyra of the Verin, your actions have placed this colony in debt. But the laws remain. You are not a registered citizen. You are neither enemy nor ally." Lyra stood, her small figure framed in the golden light of the restored shield. "Then I will be what I choose," she said softly. "Not what you fear." She turned to leave, but Evan caught her hand. "Wait, what happens now?" Her eyes met his, silver meeting brown. "Now, you keep your promise." He blinked. "Promise?" She smiled. "You said you'd find me again." "You did." Then she let go and walked out through the heavy doors, every step leaving a faint trail of light that shimmered and faded behind her. That night, Evan stood with his father on the observation deck. The colony dome above them reflected the twin moons like liquid glass. "She changed everything today," Evan said quietly. Dr. Carter nodded. "Yes, and frightened many. Change always does." Evan's gaze drifted to the Verin Quarter, where faint blue lights danced like fireflies. "They'll come for her again, won't they?" "Probably," his father said softly. "But she's stronger than they know." Evan touched the glowing metal piece still hanging from his neck, the one engraved with a single word, friend. He looked out into the night and whispered, "You're not alone anymore." And deep within the Verin district, under the shadows of ancient ruins, Lyra stared up at the same twin moons, whispering the same words into the light. Two hearts, one promise, connected across the stars. And somewhere in the dark sky above, the dome lights of Alaris 9 flickered like a heartbeat, as if the planet itself had begun to believe in her. The twin suns rose again over Alaris 9, this time through clear skies. The storms were gone. The colony shield shimmered steady and bright, restored by the alien girl everyone once feared. In the early light, people gathered outside the domes, staring at the horizon where silver and gold met. For the first time in years, the humans and the Verin stood side by side, their reflections blending on the glass ground. Someone whispered, "She saved us." Another replied, "Yes, But what is she now? No one had an answer. In the quiet corners of the colony, Evan Carter sat on the same bench where he'd first seen her, the lonely edge of the playground. Children laughed nearby, their voices mixing with the hum of morning. But the bench beside him was empty. He turned the small glowing metal piece in his hand, the one with the Verin word friend carved inside. The glow pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. A small shadow fell across him. He looked up. Lyra stood there. No guards. No chains. No fear. Only her soft hood and the faint blue light beneath it. Evan jumped to his feet, a grin breaking through his tired face. You're okay. Lyra tilted her head, her voice gentle. They let me go. The council said, I am free to stay. But not everyone agrees. He frowned. What do you mean? She looked toward the distant towers. Some humans still whisper. Some Verin too. They say I've changed sides. Evan sighed. That's how fear works. It doesn't vanish in a day. Lyra smiled faintly. But it fades, with light. He blinked, realizing what she meant. Then let's make more light, he said softly. That day, they worked together in the repair sector. The council, still unsure what to do with her, had allowed Lyra to assist the engineers in rebuilding damaged systems. Humans watched her cautiously at first, some curious, some afraid. When she touched broken machines, her hands glowed blue, her energy merging with human tech as if it had always belonged there. One by one, engines hummed back to life. The workers stared, silent at first, then began to clap. A young boy ran forward, handing her a small crystal. For you, he said shyly. Lyra smiled, the glow reflecting in her eyes. She knelt and placed the crystal on his palm, making it shimmer like a tiny star. Now it's yours again, she said softly. Evan watched from the side, his heart full. Every time she smiled, the world seemed less cold. But peace had its shadows. Late that night, while Lyra and Evan were returning from the repair station, a warning siren echoed across the dome. Red lights flashed through the glass corridors. A voice crackled through the speakers. Unauthorized energy detected near the central grid. Guards rushed past them, weapons drawn. Evan's pulse quickened. What's happening? Lyra closed her eyes. She could feel the disturbance, the pulse of unstable energy spreading like static through the ground. It's not me, she whispered. It's something else, something wrong. They ran toward the sound. At the edge of the energy chamber, they found chaos, sparks flying, machines twisting, power conduits glowing red. A human technician lay unconscious nearby. Before anyone could stop her, Lyra knelt and pressed her glowing hands to the console. The red light turned blue. The ground steadied. The machines calmed. Gasps filled the air. Reese himself stood among the guards, watching silently. For the first time, there was no anger in his eyes, only disbelief. When the danger passed, Evan helped Lyra to her feet. Her energy had drained again, her glow fading to pale silver. Reese stepped forward slowly. You risked your life again. Lyra met his gaze. Would you have done less for yours? The room went quiet. Reese looked at her for a long moment, then gave a small nod, not approval, not surrender, but respect. It was the first time a counselor had ever bowed his head to a Verin. By evening, the story spread through every dome. The alien girl who saved the colony twice had done so not for power, not for pride, but for people who once feared her. Children drew her image on the walls, blue light around her hands, smile on her face. Humans and Verin started talking again, trading stories and laughter in the open plazas. It wasn't perfect peace, but it was the start. That night, Evan and Lyra stood beneath the twin moons, their light touching her silver eyes. He handed her a small object, a photo, printed from an old terminal. It showed two figures standing side by side near the dome fence, one human, one alien. Lyra traced it gently. You kept this? He smiled. Of course. Proof that we're real. She looked up at him, eyes soft. Do you think they'll ever see us like this? Together, without fear. Evan nodded slowly. They will. Because they already have. And for a moment, the world was quiet again. The air hummed with warmth, the stars reflected in their eyes, and the boundary between two species, once wide as space itself, felt no thicker than the space between their hands. The dawn of trust had begun. The colony of Alaris 9 grew brighter, louder, and more alive than ever before. New domes rose under the twin suns, and where once there had been fences between humans and Verin, now there were bridges, schools, and laughter that needed no translation. And at the heart of the colony, near the great glass dome of light, stood a statue. Two figures, carved from silver and bronze, a human boy holding a drone in one hand, and beside him, a Verin girl with glowing eyes and a smile that seemed almost real. Children ran around it every morning. Some human, some Verin, some both. None of them remembered the days when fear ruled the air. But their parents did. They remembered the night the shields almost failed, and the girl who saved them all. They remembered the day a human boy stood up for her when no one else dared. And so, every dawn, people came to the statue, placed flowers at its base, and whispered a simple truth. It started with a smile. Evan Carter stood there one quiet morning, older now, his hair touched with silver. He still carried the small metal piece she'd given him years ago, the one that said friend. Its glow had faded over time, but he still felt it, a warmth that lived deeper than light. He looked up at the statue and whispered, "You'd laugh if you saw this, Lyra." They finally learned to listen. A gentle breeze stirred, and for a moment, the air shimmered faintly, as if the colony itself had heard him. Far beyond Alaris 9, in the outer systems, humanity and the Verin now traveled together. Starships bore two symbols side by side, the human crest and the Verin spiral of light. They called it the Alliance of Dawn, founded in the name of peace, built on the memory of one alien girl and one human boy who refused to hate. Every ship carried a story plaque. This alliance began not with war or conquest, but with a girl who watched others play, and a boy who made her smile. But on Alaris 9, one night each year, the lights of the domes dimmed. The people gathered in silence under the twin moons. And they told the story again, the story of Lyra, the Verin child who turned fear into friendship. Evan always came, sitting on the same old bench by the playground, the same one where it all began. He would watch the new generation play together, laughing just like before, but this time, no one stood alone. Sometimes, when the wind blew gently through the glass arches, he could almost hear her laughter among theirs, soft, distant, like the sound of starlight. That night, he sat beneath the twin moons, his reflection faint in the dome glass. His old drone lay beside him, its once scarred surface now polished clean. He whispered, "I kept my promise. I never stopped coming back." The breeze answered with silence. But in that silence, something shimmered, a faint glow spreading across the drone's surface. Blue light. Gentle. Familiar. Evan's eyes widened. "Lyra?" A voice echoed softly inside his mind, not heard, but felt, just as it once had been. "You did not need to find me, Evan. You carried me with you all along." He smiled, tears rising in his eyes. I just wanted you to know, they remember you." "Then my light was not wasted," the voice whispered, fading like morning mist. "Thank you, for seeing me." And then she was gone again. But the glow remained. As dawn broke, sunlight filled the colony once more. The twin suns rose over fields of glass and steel, over laughter and life, over stories that would be told for centuries. A young Verin girl walked past the statue, holding her human friend's hand. She pointed at the figures and asked, "Who were they?" Her teacher smiled softly. "The first friends. The ones who showed us what trust means." The girl tilted her head, curious. "Did they win a war?" "No," the teacher said gently. "They stopped one before it began." The child looked up again, her small face glowing in the light. "She's smiling." "Yes," the teacher whispered. "And because of that smile, we can too." That evening, when the last rays of the sun touched the colony dome, the statue shimmered, just for a moment. A faint glow spread from the girl's carved hand to the boy's bronze fingers. And in that quiet flash of light, every drone, every lamp, every home in Alaris 9 flickered once, a silent salute to the ones who started it all. A story that began with loneliness ended with unity. A girl who once stood apart now stood in every heart. And across the stars, her name was still whispered with love. Lyra, the one who smiled. Because sometimes, it doesn't take a hero to change the universe. Just someone brave enough to see another. And someone kind enough to make them smile.